Hi everyone, and it's a pleasure and it's great to have all of you here for this event. My name is Aviv Basinski. I am a product manager in Bright Data. I manage our proxy networks and some of our managed solutions, the search engine crawler and the web unlocker. And maybe we'll discuss in the Q&A section a little bit about them. And generally, Bright Data has been providing products and services for data-driven businesses for a very long time now. And so it's very interesting to have this event. We're having together with Jason Tan. It's a great honor. Jason is the owner of Data-Driven Analytics, or DDA. And for any podcast lover out there, he's also the host of the Analytics Show. So feel free to check that as well. So Jason and his team are developing and embedding analytics directly into the business's operation, and they do that in order to optimize results for forward-looking corporations. And we're very happy to have this joint event together with Jason. He has a lot of experience in this field with data-driven optimization solutions, and he's going to walk you through some real-life scenarios and use cases and how that fits in. So without further ado, Jason, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Avi, for the kind introduction. Let me get my screen sharing. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Tan, and I embed data science directly into the business frontline. So today, I'm going to show you why a revenue optimization engine can make your organization more data-driven and how to use it to optimize revenue. So here's what I'm going to show you today. What is a world-class revenue optimization engine used by the leading insurers and retailers? How to use this 5-module implementation in creating a revenue optimization engine, and why this will boost your revenue by at least 10%. Now, many of you probably have already known platforms like Amazon and Alibaba. They are optimizing their price for every customer. They embrace the data-driven philosophy and to use internal and external data for marketing and selling products to their customer. Now, you can achieve the same result. And many thanks to the advance of the cloud and analytic as a service platform, you can start implementing the same solution in 6 months. So let me start by telling you a backstory of how the insurers and I have been doing this for years. And most importantly, how you can implement this concept in your business. So back in mid of 2000, I worked as a pricing analyst at one of the largest insurance company here in Australia. We hired tens of backpackers to collect data for us manually. Now they would sit in front of the computer to get thousands and thousands of insurance code from the competitor website. The actuaries would then reverse engineer the code of how other insurers are charging for each rating factor. So the rating factor is like your gender, age, vehicle brands, claim count, and all other essential factors. And these are the factors that often make up the final premium that you pay for your insurance. So once we have got that sorted, we then simulate how much the competitor would be charging our customer. And together with other data that we have internally, this information is subsequently fed into the pricing optimization platform to generate the most optimal price before the customer renew their policy. Now, one thing that we were pleasantly surprised at is because the premium branding we hold in the market, we often could actually increase the price and not leave any money on the table. I have since then implemented this for my own retail business in the past and also my other corporate clients. Now let's do a case study here. Imagine you are the chief revenue officer of this retailing company called Running Warehouse. You have an online store and also a few physical store. You probably ship to over 20 countries worldwide. So it's really truly an international business. And the primary product that you sell are running shoes for runners. And like many other retailers, you compete with both physical and online store. As for the consumer, they often visit multiple websites before they pay for their product. And especially if the product they are buying are identical. So say, for example, this Ultra Boost 21 running shoe from Adidas are really trendy, and it's actually one of my favorite. So at the Running Warehouse, you're currently selling at $219, and they are still stocked for all sizes. I think it is a pretty good price. Now let's look at a few other competitor stores and how much they are selling. Now, at Adidas, they are selling at $270 at their store. And that's about $50 dearer, or maybe 23% more than what you are charging. Do you think that is quite a big difference? I certainly do. Although I think Adidas can certainly charge this price and get away from it because of their market positioning. What about the largest sporting goods retailer here in Australia, Rebel Sport? It looks like it is 1 cent cheaper than Adidas. So $269.99. Now, finally, let's us see how much they are selling at Amazon. So they sell at $244 plus $24 for delivery fee. Now, assuming the buyer does not have Amazon Prime, that's about $271. It is actually the most expensive of all. Did you expect that? Now, if we look closer at what Amazon is charging, I think it is evident how Amazon optimizes price and revenue. You see, without the delivery fee, $244 is somewhere between Running Warehouse and all other major retailers. So it allows them to win the sales from all other big box retailers. And at the same time, they use delivery fee as a hook to sign people up for Amazon Prime for all year free and fast shipping. And finally, no human would come up with a price ending 53 cents. So it's really the optimization engine in place dictating the price. So what have we learned so far? Running Warehouse is clearly the cheapest among all. On average, you're charging $51 lesser than your competitor. I really think that you are leaving so much money on the table. So the question that we want to ask are, would you always be aware you're selling at a price that is 23% below everyone else? What if you could sell it at a higher price, but remain competitive? And what if you could monitor and adjust the price for all the products automatically? Now, I know the answer to those questions are a simple yes, because I have done it before. Now, using the modern cloud platform, you too can develop a revenue optimization engine like Amazon. And to do that, we'll need 5 modules. So we'll go through each of these modules in this masterclass. The very first module is to collect external data, such as your product, color, price, location from your competitors. You can choose to include as many or as few of the competitors as you like, but make sure you have the key competitors. And to collect this external data, we'll need a mechanism to manage them at scale. Now, the good news is it has never been easier than ever. And even better, you won't have to recruit any backpackers to do this job at all. Now, instead, you can rely on modern data collection platforms like Bright Data and their infrastructure to scale up and down according to your needs. Now, we are now in 2021, so many people and companies are well aware of web scraping. And because of that, it is a lot harder to scrap the data these days. But it is still entirely possible to solve all of these challenges. Now, let's start with two main issues that you could face if you are building your own web scraping solution. Number one, the website will quickly block your IP addresses even when dealing with your public web data. Number two, they could mislead you by showing you different information. And these are the reasons why we often recommend Bright Data to all our clients. So with Bright Data, you can rely on a versatile data collection tool and a residential proxy network. And this means that your data collection activity will never be misled or blocked by the website. Now, in addition to that, you don't have to worry about maintaining any infrastructure while controlling your costs based on your meter usage. Even better, you can get up and running straight away by using their ready-made templates. If, however, the website that you want to access is not available as a template, Bright Data would create them for you in a matter of days. So one thing about working with online data collection platform, the ethical aspect is equally just as crucial as the business performance. So make sure you address the following. The first thing is the commitment to transparency. So don't be afraid to look behind the scene at the processes and the platform itself. The second thing, preserve the digital ecosystem. While collecting online data, you don't want to overload the website with too many requests, or in short, don't be a bad bot. A good analogy that I often use is fishing. If you go fishing and catch too many fishes, you will cause an ecological disaster. And the same thing goes for the digital ecosystem. And finally, always check if the platform you are using abides any international regulation. So with Bright Data, we could now monitor and keep ourselves up to date with the competitors' offer. So we can now incorporate this critical information to optimize the product pricing. But remember, we are not merely mimicking what the competitors are charging. Instead, we'll take it further to optimize the revenue at the subsequent modules. So in module 2, we need to map and translate the external data to our products. For example, they include the brand name, model, SKU, color, delivery fee, and potentially location. Now, this will make sure we can compare all the products like for like. In other more complex scenarios, the products are not necessarily identical. For example, the general insurance product are one of them. And this is when you need to have domain expert providing all the knowledge to map and translate the data. Now, when it comes to price optimization, there are a few things we should always have in place to safeguard the business and avoid catastrophic disaster. The first thing is the ceiling price, and the second one is the floor price. A ceiling price is basically the maximum amount you would want to charge for a product. In the retail industry, you wouldn't want to deviate too much from the regular price. For example, $100 dearer than everyone else for exactly the same product. As for the floor price, it is the minimum price that you want to charge for a product. And unless it is a loss leader, you do not want to sell it at below cost. So in our cases, our ceiling price is $271 plus 5% loading, and that's about $284. And depending where you want to position in the market, our floor price is $219, and that's our original price. So basically, you can find an optimal number between the ceiling and the floor price, but you would not want to go outside these two numbers. But more than that, having this ceiling price and a floor price, it is also act as a safe mechanism, making sure that the price optimization engine doesn't go crazy and come up a price that is completely insane. Other than that, you would also want to consider if you are an online pure play or you have both an online and offline presence. If you have an offline store, what are the locations and what is your typical consumer demographic that are visiting the store? So is it at a premium high street location where they are generally affluent shoppers? And finally, how do you design your online store and customer experience for your most loyal shoppers? For example, do you have a way to actively encourage the shopper to always log in for a personalized experience? Because when you do, you will know your customer so much better. You will have more opportunities to create a great experience for them, make more upsells, and increase their customer loyalty. Now, there are a few ways to achieve this, but this topic alone is probably worthy of another discussion for another day. So right after we have optimized the price, the next step is to optimizing the revenue. And this is really the holy grail of a data-driven revenue optimization platform. You can make it very advanced by including many complex models using both internal and external data. Now, generally, I would advise to start simple and gradually increase the model complexity over time. So price is always one of the crucial factors, but is not the only factor. There are many factors to consider, such as the demand, inventory, clearance rate, locality, and many more. Now, overall, this is where you want to optimize your revenue for the business with the data that you have internally. By considering all of these factors, you can then design a strategy to maximize the result. One important note about this part here is you don't have to have all of them from day one. Instead, you can add or subtract any of them as you see fit. The most important thing about this is how you design the platform to be able to add more or remove any of them quickly. Remember, the last thing you want to have is that anytime you want to make an update, you will need to engage a team of engineers to make the changes that could take months to implement. Instead, you want to move faster than your competitors. You want to make the changes in a matter of days or sometimes even a matter of hours. Now, in our experience, the very last step can be a showstopper at some company. Like many other companies, they have a legacy system from prominent software vendor. They make various customization to make the IT system work for their business. However, many of these legacy IT systems do not necessarily support the data-driven concept in the modern IT architecture. As a result, they cannot quickly adapt to changes at speed. So the delay or complexity of updating the legacy system is causing all of these analytical models never to realize their full potential. But I can assure you that it is entirely possible to work with the IT team to get the architecture design right. So once we have optimized the price and revenue, we will now have an entirely new set of pricing for each distribution channel that achieve the optimal result. Now, this includes the personalized price for every known shopper, the competitive price on the website, and the store for each location. And this brings us to the final step. It is about updating an analytical result into the system automatically. So if you have a modern web-based system, it is very, very likely that you already have API. So we can easily update the price through the API. If you have a legacy system, we can work with the IT team to push the data. And finally, we want to streamline the changes with the team members at the brick and mortar store. You may also want to provide them with sufficient training on responding to the customer who question about the price discrepancy. Now, with all that said, the key here is to have as little human intervention as possible. So this step is really critical to get it right, because not only you will minimize the human error, the costs and the resources from all these manual updates, you will also be able to increase the speed of delivering and optimizing the result from the automation. You can also tune the system to run daily, weekly, or monthly, but from our experience, we'll suggest a fortnightly or monthly run is suitable for most of the businesses. Now, let's look at the result from the example we have used. Before the optimization, the original price is $219. So based on the external data we have collected, we know it is possible for a price upheaval. On average, we are now charging an extra $38 or 17% more than before, while still remaining competitive. And bear in mind, the above is only for one product. Imagine the financial impact you can make when you replicate this for the entire portfolio. And from the cost perspective, imagine how many FTE we could be saving and how much human error we could avoid. And the most important thing, though, is that you never have to worry about the competitors crushing your price, because you're constantly monitoring and you're always one step ahead of them. Now, I know from the registration detail, there are people from different industry. So some of you might be wondering if this applies to your industry. Now, from our experience and research, many companies in the industry you see on the screen have already benefited from the revenue optimization platform. Now, we are almost at the end of the masterclass. So let me briefly recap these main points that we discussed today, so you can take them back to the office and start implementing them to bulletproof the future. Number one, modern data collection with bright data. Number two, map and translate the external data accordingly. Number three, optimize product pricing with competitor pricing engine. Number four, optimize portfolio revenue with more data and analytic model. And lastly, number five, update your result with an automated process into the system. And before I let you go, I want to quote what Jeff Bezos said back in 2000. See some messages, just want to be sure. Is everything okay? Okay. So I'll just continue. I just want to check what's happening there. So what did Jeff Bezos say? Let me go back to where I was. Well, he said, if we want to have 20 million customers, we want to have 20 million stock. Now, the moral of this code is that if this concept and framework are one of the critical things that make Bezos the wealthiest person in the world, why do we hesitate and not doing it our organization? I just think it makes no sense at all. And remember, developing and maintaining a revenue optimization platform is just easier than ever before. You don't need hundreds of engineers like Amazon once did 20 years ago to build every single element from scratch. Instead, you can take advantage of the technology platform like Bright Data and expertise like DDA. So the cost of having such a platform are just cheaper and more accessible than ever. So what Amazon spent a few years building in the past, you could now achieve it yourself in 6 months at a fraction of the cost. If you, however, need assistance, call Bright Data and DDA. And finally, we have some special gift to thank you for attending this masterclass. In this or next week, contact Bright Data and claim your $50 bonus to begin your data collector journey. Contact me or DDA to receive a tailored report if your business can benefit from such a revenue optimization engine. So, my final word for you, take action and take action now. Thank you very much.
Mohammed, you wanted to ask a question from Jason. Yeah, there is a question. Mohammed is asking, so for the second part about data translation and mapping, the thing is, how do we do that? Because every store has their own way of inputting the data, names, descriptions, and all the other info. And for stores as large as Amazon, how do you make sure that you map each product with the exact correct product?
That is a good question, Mohammed. So there are two ways to look at it, right? The first thing first is you want to know whether you're mapping exactly the identical product. So what I mean by identical product is, let's say you are a retail store that you sell iPhone. So we know you can map the iPhone 12 that you are selling to any other retailer that is selling. The product is exactly the same. You may have different SKU and the other store may have different SKU, but the product are exactly identical. So that is how you map the data accordingly. So that's the first thing. There are other items that are not exactly identical. So for example, the general insurance. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, your home building insurance and your content insurance. Now, at a very, very high level, they are pretty much the same. It will be some nuances and some minor differences, but on the high level, they are generation. But when you go down to the detail level, the way that sometimes the insurer A describes certain things versus the insurer B look at certain things are slightly different. So that's the time when the things are not exactly the same. And that is where you would need a domain expert, someone who understands the product that you are selling and what other competitors are selling, who knows how to do all of this mapping together. And another example would be fashion category, right? Fashion category, say for example, this shirt that I'm wearing, then you would never really find truly exactly the identical product from another retailer. But if you look closely, the way that they describe, for example, the material and also the composition of the shirt itself is very much the same or slightly different. And then at the same time, you need to know who exactly your competitors are. You with this, say for example, using this white shirt, then you would want to target certain of the competitor in the retailer who are in the same market with you. You don't want to go and compare the price of the Target or Kmart to this boutique retailer. So that is the way of how you would map the data accordingly. And you really need someone who has got the expertise and the knowledge about this product in order to map them. As for your question about how the company like Amazon will be able to map every single one of them, well, they didn't start by, they didn't start the company with 160 million product in the store. They didn't do it right away. So that's why you always want to start with something small, something manageable. You then scale it up from there as you are testing, as you are finding more success. And I think that is probably also a good way. If you were running this sort of project in the company, sometimes you don't necessarily want to get $3 or $5 million budget from your CEO and then say, we're gonna map 100,000 of the product, and this is what the project is about, and we are going to make $20 million from this project. Sometimes it's good to keep the project really agile, really small, prove the success, prove the use cases, gain some alliance in your corner, and then continuously to map more product and bring more product into the platform. I think that overall is a better approach, but that is really comes down to the philosophy of running and managing the project, which is probably not you're asking for, but I hope that answer and give you a different perspective as well in terms of how to manage and map all of these many products.
There is a clarification. Mohammed, let us know if you received the answer to your question.
Now okay, cool. Then I'll just go quickly. Okay, cool. And I think the other question is, for exactly the same product, how do you know they are the same? If product one, say Apple 11, 25 gigabit, Apple Store, say 11, 12 gigabyte RAM. Again, so this is where, yes, they may not necessarily have the MPN and GTIN, but they will have spec, right? So for example, you go to this retailer website, as they are selling the phone, they have to tell you all of these specs of this model that you are getting versus the other model that you are getting. That's why the domain expertise need to know what are the things to look for. So 12 gig versus 25 gig, etc. In the insurance world, what we used to do is I literally would open up their financial document and I look at the way they describe the thing. So for example, I'll give you an example is that war type. Now insurance A would have like 6 different war type. Insurance B would have like 10 different war types. So war type is basically the type of the war that construct and make the building of your home. So imagine you have insurance A who have 6 different war type in terms of the definition to price their insurance premium versus B who have 10 different war type, and then versus C who have probably say 15 war type. Now this is where again your domain expert would have to make some judgment call, i.e. how do you translate when you don't have the exact like for like, how do you translate and make some reasonable sacrifice to be able to map all of this data so that you can get the best of all of this mapping. Any other question? I think we just got new. Come on in.
Someone else seems to be typing. I'll just add, Jason, 2 things. If we'll divide it into 2 parts regarding what you discussed. One part is collecting the data and one part is processing it, which is also what Muhammad was asking about. So the collection part, first of all, this is something that the big players have been doing for years, and many of them are bright data customers. It's quite a common practice, but it's been reserved for It's been reserved for the big players because it was quite technical. So there was the technical barrier. A lot of resources and research would need to put into it. But today the situation is completely different. This is one of the main points, and anyone, even without any code knowledge, can come, open a collector, define what he needs, and get the data. And then there's the part of the processing. And also regarding Muhammad's question, even if the product description is not exactly the same, probably if you will look for both descriptions, you will get very similar results. For example, in Amazon. So then you would still get the same results to analyze. And also there are companies like DDA that can help generating these type of reports. So just a quick note on that.
Exactly, and like what Aviv just described, really is the cloud technology is really changing everything. Amazon or any of those big player, or even like the insurance that I used to work for, we used to build every single thing ourselves. You literally have hundreds of engineers building every single element from scratch. But these days, it's just think about like when you build a website or when you visit a website, a lot of the things that you see in front of you, they don't actually build by the website owner anymore. All they do is they just buy the service and then call the API. And with that, suddenly all the website would now have a chatbot, all the website would now have a email delivery system, all the website will be able to do the feedback, all the website will be able to do the form. Now, all of those little things are completely service that they bought. And exactly the same reason that today, it is entirely possible to achieve exactly the same result like the big player and use all these platforms and construct them to do what you want to do as an analytic platform and optimize your revenue. I think there's also one thing that is super important that I want to highlight here, though, is that if Avi can help me out with this one, is the residential proxy. Now, Bright Data have residential proxy to help you collect these public web data and the external data. Without this residential proxy, it's actually going to be extremely difficult this day. Avi, can you please help me out and share with us about the residential proxy?
Sure. So the residential proxy is actually the product that Bright Data pioneered with the market with. And we have a network of around 80 million real users IPs, which we gain through our SDK and various partners. So different app owners can add us as a partner, and then users can decide, for example, if they want to get the app without any ads or for free, and in return opt in to allow us to use their IP for a very limited usage. And then in this way, we built a very, very large and robust network, which is very diversified in terms of geolocation. So there's IPs almost in any location in the world. So a very large network with a lot of endpoints and the global coverage allows the user to work on high scale without getting blocked, always getting the information as the real user he is simulating is seeing it. So if I want to see what the results would be for the Indian market, for people from India and that market specifically, then I will exit from IPs from India and see the content, pricing, and so on from India. So that gives me a very big advantage. And since the network is constructed of real users' IPs, then they would rarely be blocked. That being said, today we already offer even easier solutions, which of course also rely on our residential network, but these solutions also automatically handle any blocking issues. This relates to the technological threshold I was discussing earlier. So today you don't even need to handle sessions and cookies and overcome blocking, even if little with the residential network, but still a bit. You don't need to handle any of that at all. You can use our web unlocker or data collector, and that handles everything for you. The only thing you need to know is what is the target pages that you want to fetch the information from, and we will do everything else pretty much and deliver the information to you.
That remind me of a story that happened to us when we were doing the pricing optimization. The CEO of the largest insurance company in Australia, they actually wrote a letter to us and told us to stop collecting the data from their website. Now that was because they couldn't figure out how to stop us. And imagine if you have the power of the bright data at your hand, you could even collect more data. And I want to really to point out the couple of things here. It's not just about collecting the external data, it's not just about pricing. You could use external data for many, many other things. So that's the first thing. Second thing here also is with the internal data, you can only know so much about your own customer because, and you already know them. But imagine if you have more external data, you would know about your customer so much more than your internal data can tell you. And finally, I think this is the three key takeaway that I would share with you is that all of the data analytic that is done at the organization, many of them are still sitting in the Excel file, sitting in that PDF file, or sitting in the dashboard. The model that your actuary or the model of your best medicine is building, are they still sitting in those dashboards? Because no one would be able to get the resources to analyze them, to come up with a strategy and say what you do with them. That is really a big waste. So if you can find a way, embed all this analytical model and build it as a platform to directly influence your customer experience, to directly influence your business frontline, is really the key way to go. An example for you or an analogy that I often use and for you to think about is, think about the recommendation engine that used by YouTube. Think about the recommendation engine used by the Facebook in terms of showing you of what you want to see in order to keep you active in the platform for 24/7. And that is really the beauty of embedding the data analytic directly into the business frontline. Wonderful. Thank you so much for everyone who is attending. And also, again, thank you so much, Bright Data, for having me in this masterclass. It's really my pleasure and honor to present in this masterclass. If you guys have any question, make sure you reach out to Bright Data or reach out to me. We'll be more than happy to answer the question at any time.
You can find the links to connect with Jason and with Bright Data in the chat. Just use them. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Jason, for insightful masterclass.
Bye, all. Thank you.